Reality is observing you, observing yourself right now. The very awareness through which you are hearing these words is the same awareness through which reality calibrates its response to you. This is the observer mirror. It does not wait. It does not judge. It reflects. You have been taught that you move through a fixed world, reacting to circumstances that arrive without your consent. But what if every circumstance is responding to the way you see yourself? What if the world is not a stage you walk across, but a mirror angled perfectly toward your inner identity? Pause for a moment and notice the subtle shift this introduces. If reality reflects your self-concept, then your self-concept is not a private opinion. It is a broadcast. It is a frequency. It is an instruction to the field of possibilities surrounding you. This means your lived experience is not shaped by what you say you want. It is shaped by who you believe you are. If you see yourself as overlooked, life reflects delay. If you see yourself as unworthy, opportunities appear distant. If you see yourself as powerful, circumstances reorganize. Not by magic. By resonance. The observer mirror is active in every moment. As you evaluate yourself, reality adjusts. As you define yourself, reality conforms. As you assume limitation or expansion, the field echoes back confirmation. This is the law. You are not a passive observer trapped inside events. You are consciousness selecting reflection through identity. The mirror does not respond to effort. It responds to self-recognition. It does not measure your struggle. It measures your coherence. Right now, as you listen, something within you is assessing itself. That assessment is shaping the next sequence of experience. The mirror is immediate. It does not operate in the future. It responds in the present. And here is the elevation. You are not a small personality trying to control external forces. You are the awareness through which reality becomes visible. The world you encounter is not separate from the way you see yourself within it. Change the self-concept, and the reflection must change. Not because you force it. Because it cannot do otherwise. This is not about blame. It is about power. The kind of power that does not dominate, but aligns. The kind that does not push, but stabilizes. The kind that does not demand change, but becomes it. The observer mirror has always been functioning. The difference now is that you are becoming conscious of it. And once you become conscious of a mirror, you can no longer pretend the reflection is random. This changes everything. If you are aligned with this frequency, subscribe and remain within it. Because from this moment forward, you are no longer watching reality. You are watching yourself being reflected by it. Self-concept is not a thought. It is not a mood. It is not a sentence you repeat in the mirror each morning. Self-concept is the internal identity you assume to be true before you ever speak. It is the silent conclusion you have drawn about who you are. Most people confuse self-concept with positive thinking. They believe that if they adjust their surface thoughts, their reality will follow. But surface thoughts float on top of deeper identity structures. And reality does not respond to the surface. It responds to the foundation. You can say, "I am abundant," while feeling fundamentally behind. You can repeat, "I am loved," while assuming you are difficult to love. You can declare confidence while quietly expecting rejection. The mirror does not hear your words. It reads your assumption. Affirmations fail not because the universe ignores you, but because identity overrules effort. If the core belief remains unchanged, the external reflection stabilizes around that deeper pattern. This is why effort alone exhausts people. They attempt to force outcomes without shifting the identity that generates those outcomes. They try to change circumstances while protecting the self-concept that created them. Reality reflects identity, not effort. Your self-concept is the architecture beneath every experience. It shapes how you interpret events. It determines what feels possible. It filters what you notice and what you ignore. It influences how others respond to you because it influences how you respond to yourself. If you assume you are respected, your posture shifts, your tone stabilizes, your boundaries become clear. If you assume you are overlooked, your energy contracts, your words soften, your presence withdraws. The world reacts accordingly. Not because it is cruel. Because it is coherent. Self-concept operates like a lens. It does not create objects from nothing. It selects which aspects of reality become visible and amplified. It organizes experience around what matches your internal definition. And here is the deeper layer. Self-concept is often unconscious. It was shaped by repetition, early conditioning, emotional imprinting, and repeated conclusions drawn during vulnerable moments. It feels natural because it has been rehearsed. But natural does not mean permanent. The moment you become aware of your self-concept, you step outside of it. Awareness introduces flexibility. Recognition introduces choice. You are not required to fight your identity. You are invited to examine it. When you shift how you see yourself, you alter the instructions being sent to the mirror. The reflection must update. This is not about pretending. It is about aligning with a truer interpretation of yourself. Not inflated. Not artificial. Accurate. You are not your history. You are the awareness capable of redefining it. Like the video now as a confirmation that this recognition has landed. Because the hidden architect of your experience has been revealed. And once you see the blueprint, you can begin to redesign it from within. Imagine standing between two mirrors facing each other. The reflection does not end. It repeats into infinity. Image within image. Depth within depth. Now understand, this is not just a visual phenomenon. This is consciousness observing itself. Your identity forms the first mirror. Reality forms the second. When you see yourself in a particular way, the external world reflects that perception back to you. Then you observe that reflection and use it as evidence of who you are. That reinforced belief becomes the next projection. And the loop continues. Identity shapes reflection. Reflection reinforces identity. This is the infinite feedback loop of consciousness. If you assume you are overlooked, subtle social cues confirm it. You interpret neutral events as dismissal. That interpretation strengthens the identity of being overlooked. The mirror deepens the image. If you assume you are capable, small successes stand out. Encouragement registers more strongly. That evidence reinforces capability. The loop amplifies. The mirror does not initiate the cycle. You do. But once initiated, it sustains itself automatically. This is why patterns feel persistent. They are not random streaks of luck or misfortune. They are stabilized loops. The more emotionally charged the identity, the faster the reflection confirms it. The faster it confirms, the more convinced you become. The loop tightens. Between these mirrors, most people live unconsciously. They see the reflection and believe it is separate from them. They react to it. They resist it. They attempt to rearrange it. But reacting to the reflection without examining the originating identity only feeds the recursion. You cannot change the reflection by arguing with it. You interrupt the loop by observing the observer. Awareness is the interruption point. The moment you notice that you are interpreting reality through a specific identity, a gap appears. In that gap, choice becomes possible. Instead of automatically accepting the reflection as proof, you recognize it as feedback. That recognition weakens the automatic reinforcement cycle. Consciousness observing itself with awareness dissolves mechanical repetition. The mirror remains, but you are no longer trapped between reflections. You step slightly outside the angle of repetition. This is where change begins. Not by forcing new outcomes. Not by denying current reflections. But by altering the internal assumption before it projects outward again. The feedback loop is neutral. It does not prefer limitation or expansion. It stabilizes whatever identity is most consistently rehearsed. Once you understand this, you stop blaming circumstances for repeating patterns. You begin tracing them inward. The power is not in fighting the mirror. The power is in adjusting the self you are presenting to it. As soon as identity shifts, the loop must reorganize. The reflection updates. The new reflection provides new evidence. The evidence strengthens the new identity. A different infinite corridor forms. You are not stuck inside the mirrors. You are the awareness capable of redirecting the angle. And that realization is the first true interruption of unconscious creation. Now we move from recognition into mechanism. Understanding that reality mirrors your self-concept is the awakening. Understanding how it mirrors is the mastery. The observer mirror does not operate through wishful thinking or verbal declarations. It operates through frequency, coherence, and emotional signal. It responds to what you consistently radiate, not what you occasionally attempt. Emotion is not a reaction to reality. Emotion is instruction to the field. Every emotional state carries a measurable pattern. Calm certainty stabilizes your nervous system. Gratitude organizes perception. Shame contracts posture and tone. Confidence expands breath and attention. These are not abstract experiences. They are frequencies moving through your body. And your body is not separate from the field of reality. It is embedded within it. When you feel unworthy, that contraction becomes a broadcast. When you feel capable, that expansion becomes a broadcast. The field does not interpret language. It harmonizes with vibration. Frequency is identity in motion. If your self-concept is the blueprint, emotion is the electrical current that activates it. A belief held without emotional charge is weak. A belief saturated with feeling becomes magnetically coherent. The field responds most strongly to what is emotionally consistent. This is why pretending does not work. Forced positivity carries tension underneath it. The surface says one thing. The frequency says another. The mirror responds to the deeper signal. Coherence is when thought, emotion, and identity align in the same direction. When you believe you are worthy, feel worthy, and act worthy, the signal stabilizes. The field organizes around stability. It reflects consistency. When signals conflict, the reflection fragments. You do not need perfect emotions. You need honest direction. If you are moving toward expansion, even gently, the frequency shifts. The field recalibrates accordingly. Notice this in your own life. On days when you feel internally settled, interactions flow. Decisions clarify. Timing synchronizes. On days when you are internally chaotic, small obstacles multiply. The external world has not changed randomly. It has mirrored your internal state. This is not mystical exaggeration. It is resonance. The observer mirror is not a judge. It is a tuning system. It matches the dominant emotional frequency you hold. Not momentary spikes. Dominant patterns. And here is the power. You can consciously shift your emotional baseline. Not by suppressing contraction, but by recognizing it. Recognition softens it. Allowing stabilizes it. As you cultivate states of calm certainty, appreciation, or quiet self-trust, the field receives new instruction. Comment with the words, "I am ready," to anchor this timeline. Because the moment you declare readiness with emotional coherence, you are not hoping for change. You are signaling it. And the field, as it always does, begins adjusting in response. Control feels powerful, but beneath it is fear. When you try to force reality into a specific shape, you are not demonstrating confidence. You are revealing mistrust. Mistrust in the mirror. Mistrust in your own identity. Mistrust that what you are being is enough to generate what you desire. Forcing is an energetic contraction. When you grip tightly to an outcome, your nervous system shifts into tension. Your thoughts accelerate. Your body narrows. Your emotional frequency becomes urgent. And urgency is not alignment. It is resistance. The observer mirror does not respond to pressure. It responds to coherence. When you attempt to control every detail, you communicate a subtle message to the field: I do not believe this will unfold unless I strain. That strain becomes the dominant signal. The mirror reflects struggle back to you. Obstacles increase. Delays appear. Not as punishment, but as resonance. Forcing repels because it amplifies the vibration of lack. If you believed something was naturally aligned with you, you would not chase it. You would expect it. Expectation is calm. Chasing is anxious. The mirror distinguishes between the two instantly. This is why people exhaust themselves trying to manifest outcomes through sheer effort. They focus on managing circumstances instead of stabilizing identity. They micromanage details while neglecting the frequency beneath them. Control attempts to edit the reflection without adjusting the self being reflected. Allowing is different. Allowing does not mean passivity. It means alignment. It means embodying the identity that assumes the outcome is natural, and then moving through the present moment without strain. It means acting when action feels clear, resting when rest feels aligned, and releasing the compulsion to manipulate timing. Receptivity restores flow. When you are receptive, your nervous system softens. Breath deepens. Perception widens. Creativity increases. In this state, you are not pushing against the mirror. You are standing in front of it with trust. Trust stabilizes frequency. Stabilized frequency organizes reality more efficiently than force ever could. This is the paradox. The tighter you grip, the further the reflection seems. The steadier you become, the more naturally it approaches. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped signaling fear. Tension reflects internal contradiction. You say you trust yourself, yet you act as if you do not. The mirror highlights that contradiction. It must. When identity and emotion align in calm certainty, effort reduces. Action becomes precise instead of frantic. Opportunities feel like invitations instead of battles. Timing feels intelligent instead of random. Allowing attracts because it broadcasts sufficiency. You are not meant to wrestle reality into submission. You are meant to become coherent enough that reality aligns without resistance. The mirror does not need to be conquered. It needs to be trusted. And when trust replaces control, reflection becomes effortless. Creation does not happen in the future. It does not happen in the past. It does not happen in imagined versions of you that feel more prepared, more confident, more healed. Creation happens only here. The present moment is the only point where identity transmits. The only place where frequency stabilizes. The only place where the observer mirror receives instruction. You cannot create from who you hope to become. You can only create from who you are being now. Many people delay transformation because they believe their future self will be the one who embodies confidence, abundance, love, or clarity. They imagine a version of themselves who finally feels ready. But the mirror does not respond to imagination alone. It responds to current embodiment. Future identity has no signal. If you say, "One day I will feel worthy," the mirror reflects waiting. If you say, "Eventually I will become confident," the mirror reflects delay. The field organizes around the identity you are practicing in this moment, not the one you promised to adopt later. This is why recognition is more powerful than effort. Effort tries to push change into tomorrow. Recognition stabilizes change now. The moment you genuinely see yourself differently, even slightly, the signal shifts. The timeline shifts with it. Timeline selection does not require dramatic action. It requires internal alignment in the present. When you decide that you are no longer the version of yourself who tolerates disrespect, the mirror begins reorganizing interactions. When you recognize that you are capable rather than incapable, perception adjusts. Opportunities that were invisible become visible. The shift begins before external evidence appears. This is the discipline of presence. If you are constantly replaying past failures, you transmit the identity of someone defined by history. If you are anxiously projecting into future outcomes, you transmit instability. But when you anchor into the present and consciously choose who you are being, the broadcast becomes clear. Now is the transmission point. You do not need to rewrite your entire story. You need to select your identity in this moment. Calm. Capable. Worthy. Grounded. Whatever truth feels expansive rather than forced. The mirror updates from that selection forward. Creation is not a long process of convincing reality. It is an immediate shift in alignment. The external world may reorganize gradually, but the internal decision is instantaneous. This is why forcing the future never works. The future is a reflection of sustained present identity. Change the present identity and the future reorganizes automatically. The present moment is not small. It is the axis of all timelines. Right now, you are transmitting. Right now, you are selecting. Not through words alone, but through who you are being. Recognition initiates the shift. And the mirror, as always, responds to what you are now. Understanding the mirror is one threshold. Sustaining a new identity is another. The real shift does not happen when you feel inspired for a moment. It happens when you remain aligned even as the old self begins to resist. Identity has momentum. For years, perhaps decades, you have rehearsed a certain way of seeing yourself. Capable or incapable. Worthy or lacking. Visible or overlooked. That repetition carved patterns into your nervous system. Those patterns feel familiar. And the nervous system is designed to protect what is familiar. When you begin embodying a new self-concept, even one that feels expansive, the body may respond with tension. Doubt may surface. Old thoughts may reappear with surprising intensity. This is not proof that the shift is failing. It is evidence that the previous identity is attempting to stabilize itself. Contraction is not failure. It is protection. Your nervous system equates familiarity with safety. If you have been accustomed to underestimating yourself, stepping into confidence can feel unsafe. If you have been accustomed to scarcity, embodying abundance can feel destabilizing. Not because abundance is dangerous, but because it is unfamiliar. The old self whispers subtle questions. Who do you think you are? What if this doesn't last? What if you are disappointed again? These are not attacks. They are echoes of past conditioning trying to prevent perceived risk. Identity inertia is powerful. Just as a moving object resists sudden change in direction, your internal identity resists rapid transformation. The previous self-concept has been reinforced through experience. It has built evidence. It has created patterns. When you choose a new alignment, the old one does not disappear instantly. It slows. It negotiates. It attempts to reassert. This is the moment many people misinterpret. They assume that doubt means misalignment. They assume that discomfort means they chose incorrectly. They retreat into the old identity because it feels stable. But stability is not the same as truth. It is simply repetition. When contraction arises, observe it without panic. Awareness softens resistance. If you react with frustration, you strengthen the old pattern. If you witness it calmly, you create space for recalibration. You are not required to eliminate fear instantly. You are required to remain steady in your new recognition even while fear passes through. This is identity resilience. The observer mirror continues to respond to your dominant state, not your momentary fluctuations. If you remain committed to the expanded self-concept, even gently, the nervous system adapts. What once felt unfamiliar becomes normal. What once felt bold becomes natural. The old self is not your enemy. It was built to protect you with the tools available at the time. But you are no longer limited to that version. Allow contraction to rise without surrendering to it. Let the body recalibrate. Let familiarity shift gradually. Because the threshold is not in choosing a new identity. The threshold is in holding it long enough for the mirror to stabilize around it. Contrast is not punishment. It is refinement. When something unwanted appears in your experience, the instinct is to resist it, fix it, or escape it. But contrast is not an enemy of alignment. It is a clarifier of identity. It reveals where your current self-concept is still active beneath the surface. Every trigger is information. If someone's words unsettle you, that reaction is not random. It points to a belief about yourself that is still sensitive. If a situation evokes jealousy, insecurity, or frustration, it is not proof of inadequacy. It is exposure. Exposure of an outdated self-concept asking to be examined. The mirror reflects what is unresolved, not to trap you, but to refine you. Without contrast, identity would remain vague. You would not know what you still believe about yourself. Expansion requires definition. And definition often emerges through friction. When you feel contraction in response to an event, pause before labeling the event as the problem. Ask instead, what is this revealing about how I see myself? What assumption is being activated? What story is being reinforced? Awareness transforms contrast into expansion. If you react unconsciously, contrast strengthens the old pattern. If you observe consciously, contrast becomes leverage. The difference is not in the event. It is in your awareness of the identity beneath the reaction. Suppose you feel overlooked in a conversation. You could interpret that as external dismissal. Or you could recognize the internal assumption that your voice is secondary. Once seen, that assumption loosens. You are no longer fused with it. You can choose differently next time. The mirror updates accordingly. Contrast sharpens clarity. You cannot refine a self-concept you have not seen. Triggers illuminate blind spots. They show you where your identity still contradicts your desired expansion. This is not failure. It is feedback. Many people attempt to bypass contrast by suppressing emotion or forcing positivity. But suppression does not dissolve outdated identity. It hides it temporarily. The mirror continues reflecting it until it is consciously integrated. Contrast is the field asking, is this still who you believe you are? If you respond with defensiveness, the answer is yes. If you respond with curiosity, the answer begins to shift. Expansion does not require perfection. It requires willingness to observe yourself honestly. When you recognize a limiting belief exposed by contrast and gently release it, you refine your identity. That refinement alters the frequency you transmit. The mirror reflects new alignment. This is how growth actually occurs. Not through avoiding discomfort, but through decoding it. Not through blaming circumstances, but through examining internal narratives. Contrast is not here to defeat you. It is here to define you more clearly. Each moment of friction contains an invitation. To remain who you were. Or to become more aligned with who you truly are. Awareness makes the difference. Emotion is not a weakness. It is not an obstacle to clarity. It is the navigation system built into consciousness itself. Every feeling you experience is feedback from the field, informing you whether your current self-concept is aligned or distorted. Expansion signals alignment. Contraction signals misalignment. When you feel open, steady, quietly confident, or internally spacious, your identity is coherent. Thought, belief, and embodiment are moving in the same direction. In that state, decisions feel cleaner. Timing feels natural. You are not forcing reality. You are flowing with it. That sensation of expansion is not random chemistry. It is confirmation. When you feel tight, defensive, ashamed, or anxious, something within your identity is misaligned with a deeper truth. Contraction is not punishment. It is guidance. It indicates that the self-concept being activated does not fully match who you are capable of being. Most people misunderstand this system. They attempt to suppress contraction because it feels uncomfortable. They override sadness with distraction. They mask insecurity with bravado. They silence anger without examining its root. But suppression interrupts the signal without correcting the course. Self-awareness recalibrates. Suppression delays. Emotion does not exist to control you. It exists to inform you. If you listen without judgment, it becomes precise. If you resist it, it becomes louder. Consider the simplicity of it. When you imagine stepping into a version of yourself that feels authentic and expansive, your body relaxes. Breath deepens. There is space in your chest. That expansion is alignment. When you imagine betraying your own values or shrinking to maintain approval, the body tightens. That contraction is misalignment. The body cannot lie about identity. The observer mirror responds to your dominant emotional baseline. If you consistently override your internal guidance, you broadcast confusion. The reflection becomes inconsistent. If you cultivate awareness and respond to emotion with curiosity instead of fear, coherence strengthens. Expansion does not mean constant excitement. It often feels like quiet steadiness. Contraction does not mean catastrophe. It often feels like subtle tension. The key is honesty. When contraction arises, ask what identity is being activated. Is it an old assumption of inadequacy? A habit of self-doubt? A need for external validation? Once identified, you do not fight it. You observe it. Awareness softens its grip. As you repeatedly choose identities that feel expansive rather than constrictive, your emotional baseline shifts. What once triggered contraction no longer does. The mirror stabilizes around the new coherence. Emotion is not separate from creation. It is part of it. You are not meant to eliminate negative feeling. You are meant to interpret it correctly. Contraction is a signal to realign. Expansion is a signal to continue. When you treat emotion as guidance rather than interference, you move with precision. And the reflection you experience becomes clearer, calmer, and more aligned with who you truly are. Up to this point, you have understood the mirror, the frequency, the resistance, and the guidance system. Now the perspective expands. You are not here to slowly remodel a fixed reality. You are here to select from possibilities that already exist. You do not change reality. You select it. Most people imagine transformation as a gradual reconstruction. They believe the world must be reshaped piece by piece through effort and time. But the field of possibility is not empty clay waiting to be sculpted. It is a spectrum of parallel potentials, each corresponding to a specific identity. Every version of your life exists as a probability aligned with a version of you. There is a timeline where you remain hesitant. A timeline where you are decisive. A timeline where you accept less. A timeline where you expect more. These are not fantasies. They are vibrational matches to different self-concepts. Identity determines access. When you shift your self-concept, you do not force your current reality to slowly transform into something new. You align with a different stream of experience. The change may appear gradual externally, but internally the selection is immediate. This is why recognition is so powerful. The moment you genuinely see yourself as capable, you begin noticing options that were previously invisible. Conversations unfold differently. Choices feel clearer. It may look like circumstances are evolving, but what is actually happening is filtration. You are perceiving and engaging with a different layer of available reality. Parallel possibilities are always present. You experience the one that matches your dominant identity. Think of it as tuning a radio. The frequencies already exist. You do not create the broadcast. You tune into it. Static disappears not because the station changed, but because you aligned precisely. When you attempt to change reality without changing identity, you remain tuned to the same frequency. The environment looks similar. Patterns repeat. But when identity stabilizes at a new level, perception reorganizes. The version of reality you experience shifts. Selection feels different from struggle. Struggle feels heavy, as if you are dragging circumstances forward. Selection feels steady, as if you are stepping sideways into alignment. There is less friction because you are not opposing the field. You are matching it. This does not remove action. It refines it. Action emerges naturally from aligned identity. You speak when speaking feels true. You move when movement feels clear. There is less overthinking because the internal signal is coherent. The timeline is not waiting in the future. It is accessible through present identity. When you understand this, urgency dissolves. You stop trying to force outcomes into existence. Instead, you focus on who you are being. As that stabilizes, the corresponding reality becomes visible and accessible. You are not rearranging the universe. You are selecting from it. And the selection begins within. Magnetism is not intensity. It is coherence sustained over time. When thought, emotion, and identity move in the same direction without contradiction, something stabilizes within you. That stability is what the field responds to most powerfully. Coherence is alignment without internal argument. If you think you are capable but feel unworthy, the signal fragments. If you feel confident but secretly assume failure is inevitable, the signal weakens. The observer mirror reflects the dominant pattern, but inconsistency slows the reorganization of experience. Magnetism emerges when there is no internal split. When you believe you are worthy, feel it in your body, and act accordingly, the frequency becomes steady. You are no longer broadcasting mixed instructions. The field does not need to interpret contradiction. It simply matches clarity. This is why stability matters more than intensity. A single surge of motivation does not shift a timeline. A brief moment of confidence does not reorganize identity. But calm, repeated coherence gradually establishes a new baseline. The mirror responds to what is consistent, not what is dramatic. You do not need emotional extremes to become magnetic. You need internal agreement. When thought says yes, emotion says yes, and identity says yes, the signal strengthens. Opportunities seem to arrive at the right time. Conversations align effortlessly. Insights surface without force. This is often labeled as luck, but it is not randomness. It is resonance. Synchronicity is a symptom of coherence. When you are internally aligned, you notice connections that were always available. You act at the precise moment when action is effective. You encounter people whose frequency complements yours. It feels orchestrated, but the orchestration is emerging from alignment, not chance. The more coherent you become, the less you chase outcomes. Instead, you move with quiet certainty. Decisions simplify. Doubt reduces. There is less oscillation between extremes because the internal foundation is steady. Intensity burns quickly. Stability endures. Many people attempt to manifest through emotional peaks. They generate excitement, visualize dramatically, and push themselves into elevated states. But if those states collapse back into doubt or fear, the signal resets. The field mirrors the prevailing baseline, not the temporary high. True magnetism feels grounded. It feels normal. It feels sustainable. When coherence becomes your natural state, you do not constantly question whether reality is responding. You observe the evidence calmly. The reflection matches the internal alignment gradually but unmistakably. This is not about controlling every thought. It is about reducing internal contradiction. When contraction appears, you acknowledge it and return to steadiness. When expansion appears, you anchor it gently. Coherence is quiet power. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand attention. It simply holds alignment long enough for the mirror to organize around it. And once alignment becomes stable, attraction becomes effortless. The observer mirror is not confined to the individual. It operates within shared fields. Just as your personal self-concept shapes your lived experience, collective self-concepts shape environments, cultures, and eras. You are not only transmitting identity into a personal field. You are participating in a larger resonance. Every group carries a frequency. Families hold shared assumptions about worth, money, love, or success. Communities hold collective beliefs about possibility or limitation. Nations operate from deeply embedded identities about power, fear, expansion, or survival. These shared self-concepts create collective mirrors that reflect back into the lives of individuals within them. You feel this without needing it explained. Enter a room where people are grounded and confident, and your nervous system adjusts. Enter a space saturated with anxiety, and tension spreads quickly. Coherence and incoherence ripple outward. Frequency is contagious because fields overlap. Your individual alignment contributes to the collective pattern. When enough individuals stabilize into expansion rather than contraction, the shared mirror begins to reorganize. Conversations shift. Opportunities multiply. New systems emerge. This is not idealism. It is resonance scaling upward. Collective manifestation is amplified coherence. If one person believes in possibility while surrounded by doubt, the reflection may feel slower to change. But when multiple individuals align around elevated identity, the field strengthens. The mirror becomes clearer and more responsive. Group intention without coherence is weak. Group coherence without force is powerful. Shared realities are not imposed from above. They crystallize from below through repeated collective identity. If a community sees itself as resilient, solutions emerge during crisis. If it sees itself as powerless, fragmentation increases. The mirror reflects not just individual self-concept but shared self-definition. This is why your internal work matters beyond you. When you stabilize your own alignment, you subtly influence the field around you. Others feel steadiness in your presence. Your responses interrupt reactive cycles. Your calm coherence introduces a new baseline that others can entrain to. You are both influenced by and influencing the shared mirror. This does not mean you carry the burden of changing the world alone. It means your alignment is not isolated. It participates. Every expanded identity contributes to the overall frequency of the collective. As more individuals recognize themselves as creators rather than victims, the shared reflection begins to shift. Systems reorganize because enough internal identities have stabilized into new coherence. Cultural transformations often appear sudden, but they are preceded by quiet internal shifts across many individuals. The collective mirror amplifies what is most consistent among its participants. If fear dominates, fear reflects. If clarity stabilizes, clarity reflects. Your work with identity is therefore both personal and communal. You are not separate from the field you experience. You are a node within it. And when you refine your self-concept, you refine the resonance of the whole. Up until now, you have been refining identity. Adjusting self-concept. Stabilizing coherence. Selecting timelines. But now the perspective deepens even further. The final shift is not about becoming a better character. It is about realizing you are not the character at all. You are the observer. Identity is something you hold. Awareness is what you are. The observer mirror reflects identity. It does not reflect essence. It reflects the assumptions, beliefs, and emotional patterns you adopt. But beneath every adopted self-concept is the silent awareness noticing it. Right now, there is something in you that is aware of these words. That awareness is not anxious. It is not confident. It is not limited or expansive. It is simply present. Identity fluctuates. Awareness remains. This distinction changes everything. When you believe you are only the character, every reflection feels personal and permanent. If circumstances mirror limitation, you feel diminished. If they mirror success, you feel validated. You become entangled in the reflection because you believe it defines you. But when you recognize yourself as awareness prior to identity, the mirror loses its threat. You see that identity is a lens you are looking through, not the substance of who you are. You can adjust the lens without feeling that you are destroying yourself. You can refine the self-concept without fear because your essence is untouched. The character evolves. The observer remains. This is the deepest liberation within the observer mirror. If reality reflects identity, and identity is something you can consciously shift, then you are not trapped in any version of yourself. You are the one choosing the version. The one witnessing the shift. The one aware of contraction and expansion without being reduced to either. Awareness does not strain. It does not force. It does not panic about timelines. It simply notices. From this place, identity becomes a creative tool rather than a prison. You select beliefs that feel aligned. You release assumptions that feel heavy. You engage with the mirror without being consumed by it. The mirror reflects identity, but it cannot reflect essence. Essence has no opposite. It cannot be diminished by circumstance or enhanced by praise. It is the steady field in which all experiences arise. When you remember this, effort softens. You stop trying to fix yourself at the core. You recognize there was nothing broken at the core. Only identities that were misaligned with your deeper nature. You are not here to perfect the character. You are here to consciously inhabit it. And once you see that you are the observer, the mirror becomes less intimidating. It becomes a feedback instrument for identity, not a verdict on your being. The reflection can change. The character can evolve. But the awareness watching it all has never been incomplete. That awareness is what you truly are. Effort feels necessary when you believe something is missing. When you assume that who you are is not yet sufficient to experience what you desire, you compensate with strain. You push. You calculate. You attempt to earn alignment through intensity. But the deepest shift does not come from effort. It comes from recognition. Recognition collapses effort. The moment you clearly see yourself differently, the internal conflict dissolves. There is no more arguing with reality. No more convincing the mirror. No more rehearsing a new identity in desperation. Recognition is quiet. It is stable. It is final. When you recognize that you are already worthy, you stop trying to prove it. When you recognize that you are capable, you stop over-preparing. When you recognize that you are aligned, you stop chasing confirmation. Allowing replaces forcing. Forcing emerges from doubt. Allowing emerges from certainty. Calm certainty does not need to announce itself. It does not need to rush. It does not need to defend. It simply stands. This is coherence at its most refined level. When identity, emotion, and awareness align through recognition, the signal becomes effortless. You are no longer trying to become the version of yourself who deserves expansion. You understand that you already are that version. The body relaxes. The mind quiets. Decisions simplify. Effort dissolves because contradiction dissolves. Think about how different it feels to act from insecurity versus from clarity. In insecurity, every action carries tension. You analyze outcomes. You anticipate rejection. You rehearse conversations. In clarity, action is direct. You move because it feels natural, not because you are attempting to secure validation. Recognition stabilizes the nervous system. When you truly recognize a truth about yourself, there is a settling. You do not feel the need to constantly reaffirm it. You do not need external applause. The internal alignment is enough. The observer mirror responds most powerfully to this state. Calm certainty transmits a steady frequency. It is not loud, but it is unwavering. And unwavering signals reorganize reality more efficiently than bursts of emotional intensity ever could. You do not need to force the mirror to change. You need to recognize the identity that naturally aligns with the reflection you desire. Recognition is immediate. The external reorganization may appear gradual, but the internal shift happens in an instant. The effort you once believed was necessary becomes unnecessary. The striving softens into steadiness. This is not passivity. It is precision. When you stop pushing against reality, you notice that much of what you wanted begins moving toward you without strain. Not because you surrendered desire, but because you surrendered resistance. Allowing is not waiting. It is embodying. And when embodiment is rooted in recognition rather than hope, the mirror aligns with surprising ease. There was never a separate force deciding your fate. There was never an external mirror judging your worth. There was never a field withholding or granting based on preference. The mirror was always you. Identity, reflection, and field are not separate mechanisms operating independently. They are movements within the same consciousness. The self-concept you hold, the emotional frequency you embody, and the reality you experience are expressions of one unified process. You are not inside the mirror. You are not outside of it. You are the awareness through which it appears. The identity you assumed became the lens. The lens shaped the signal. The signal organized the reflection. And the reflection reinforced the lens. A seamless loop. Not imposed. Not random. Coherent. When you thought you were fighting circumstances, you were negotiating with your own assumptions. When you believed the world was against you, you were witnessing identity mirrored back without recognizing its source. When you felt supported, expanded, or aligned, you were experiencing resonance between who you were being and what the field could reflect. Nothing was ever separate. The observer mirror is not a mystical object. It is the structure of consciousness itself. Awareness observing identity generates experience. Experience feeds awareness. The cycle continues until recognition interrupts unconscious repetition. And now you see it. You are not here to control reality. You are here to align with it. Not by changing the world first, but by clarifying the self through which the world is perceived. Not by forcing outcomes, but by stabilizing identity. Not by chasing timelines, but by embodying the version of yourself that naturally occupies them. The power was never in manipulation. It was in recognition. The moment you understand that reality reflects self-concept, blame dissolves. The moment you understand that emotion guides alignment, confusion softens. The moment you recognize yourself as awareness prior to identity, fear loosens its grip. The mirror responds because it is you responding. Every choice from this point forward carries clarity. You can continue rehearsing an outdated identity and receive predictable reflections. Or you can embody a refined self-concept and watch the field reorganize. The decision is quiet. Immediate. Internal. You do not need to become someone else. You need to recognize who you have been all along. Consciousness selecting experience through identity. This is not a future promise. It is a present reality. Right now, you are transmitting. Right now, the mirror is reflecting. Right now, the field is reorganizing around the identity you stabilize. Stand in that awareness. Choose deliberately. Allow calmly. Because the mirror was never outside of you. It was never separate from you. It was never anything other than consciousness reflecting itself through the identity you assumed. Subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it before their timeline closes.